Hello, this is Gallifreyan Jedi speaking, and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. And for this month's blog, the month of December, I'm going to be doing, as promised from last month, my review of Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. But before I jump in and do this, I want to put out a warning for spoilers. There's a spoiler alert. Mainly because I'm going to be revealing a lot of spoilers, and my first part I'm going to be doing in this overview or this review is doing a summary of the plot, which I'm going to reveal the whole entire plot. So I'm not only just revealing spoilers, but I'm revealing the entire plot. So this is the advance notice for spoilers. So if you have not seen Episode 7, The Force Awakens yet, I encourage you to stop this video at this point and see the movie and then come back and watch my review. So I think that would be helpful for everyone to do. Now, like I said, the first part of this review, I'm going to give a summary or give a summary of the plot. I feel that's always helpful. I always do that when I give a review for a movie. So I found this nice little short review which perfectly sums up the movie. So I think that this would be helpful. Anyway, I think we should jump in and talk about this. The movie begins as a traditional Star Wars movie, like the last episodes 1 through 6, with a crawl text at the beginning to reveal the plot, what's going to be happening, where the movie is going to pick up on once the crawl text is finished. That's the way the traditional Star Wars movies have done it. So we have the beginning crawl text, which tells us that Luke Skywalker, the first thing that reveals to us is that Luke Skywalker has disappeared, and in his absence, the First Order has risen from the ashes of the Galactic Republic, the fallen Galactic Republic. And then it goes on that both sides of the Resistance, which is led by Leia Organa, and both in the First Order, basically led by Supreme Commander Snoke, are essentially both sides are looking for Luke, and it explains that. So I'm not going to read through the whole entire crawl text. I'm just wanting to give you an introduction of what the crawl text was saying. But anyway, let's jump into this description of the plot. Approximately 38 years after the destruction of the second Death Star, Luke Skywalker, the last surviving Jedi, has disappeared. Both the First Order, a successor to the fallen Galactic Empire, and the Resistance, a military force backed by the New Republic, and led by Luke's twin sister, General Leia Organa, scour the galaxy in an attempt to find him. In a village on the planet Jakku, Resistance pilot Poe Dameron meets with the village elder Lor San Tekka to obtain a map with coordinates to Luke's location. Stormtroopers under the command of the mysterious Kylo Ren infiltrate and destroy the village before capturing Poe. His droid BB-8 escapes with a map hidden in his memory and comes across a scavenger named Rey at a junkyard settlement. After Ren uses the Force on Poe to learn about BB-8, Stormtrooper FN 2187, that's his designation, defects and helps Poe escape. Their stolen TIE fighter crashes on Jakku, and the Stormtrooper, dubbed Finn, that was named by Dameron. Dameron decided to name him rather than go with his functional or his designated number or function. Names him Finn. Appears to be the only survivor. He encounters Rey and BB-8 and says that he is part of the Resistance. The First Order tracks Finn to the settlement and launches an airstrike, forcing Rey, Finn, and BB-8 to steal a rundown ship, the Millennium Falcon, and flee the planet. The Falcon breaks down and leaves them stranded, and they are soon found by Han Solo and Chewbacca. Han explains that Luke disappeared after an apprentice of his turned to the dark side and became Kylo Ren, destroying all that Luke had built, including the other Padawans that Luke had trained in the ancient first Jedi Temple. So I guess what we have here is this character named Kylo Ren. There was a New Republic, and Luke had started to train a new Jedi Order, but this character Kylo Ren, whom he had trained, turned to the dark side, and I guess murdered all of his pupils, all of the Padawans that Luke was training. So Luke, after that, went into hiding. After that, apparently. Okay. Luke had trained all of them at this planet, which was the first Jedi Temple. At Starkiller Base, a planet converted into a superweapon capable of destroying entire star systems, Ren learns from the Supreme Leader Snoke that to overcome the call of the light side, Ren must kill his father, Han Solo. The Falcon crew arrive on the planet Takodana, if I'm pronouncing that right, and meet Maz Kanata, who can help BB-8 reach the Resistance. But Finn decides he'd rather flee on his own. Rey ventures into the vault and finds Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. This was the lightsaber that Anakin had owned in the prequels, and in the original trilogy, Luke had owned. It was passed on to Luke. Anyway, continuing. After she picks up the lightsaber, she receives a mysterious vision and recoils in horror, rejecting Maz's attempt to give her the lightsaber, but Finn takes it instead for safekeeping. The First Order, tipped off by BB-8's presence, attacks the planet Takodana with the crew of Han Solo, Chewie, and Finn and Rey on that planet. Meanwhile, Starkiller Base destroys the Republic-controlled Hosnian system and its main planet, Hosnian Prime. When I first saw the movie, I thought that that was Coruscant, because it was a planet-wide city, and I thought naturally that must have been Coruscant, but it wasn't. So in a way, I'm glad because Coruscant still exists, and this other core system, which is a city-wide planet, which contained the Senate. The Senate resided there on Hosnian Prime, but it was destroyed by the First Order, by the Starkiller Base, controlled by the First Order. Okay, excuse me. So moving on, Han, Chewbacca, and Finn battle the First Order with the help of a squadron of Resistance X-Wing fighters led by Poe, who survived the crash on Jakku. Rey, however, is captured by Ren and taken to Starkiller Base. Ren attempts to force the map from Rey's mind, but she resists him and later escapes herself with a Jedi mind trick. Han is reunited with Leia when he, Chewbacca, and Finn are brought to the Resistance base on the planet Duquar. BB-8 encounters droid R2-D2, who, as C-3PO explains, has been dormant since Luke's disappearance. It is revealed that Han and Leia are aware that their son is Kylo Ren, and that their son's fall to the dark side caused them to separate, with Han returning to his smuggling business and Leia spearheading the activities of the New Republic and the Resistance. So interesting development that happened there with Leia and Han separating. They were together, assumably married, and started to have just like you have in the EU. But their son turned to the dark side, and the pressure under that caused the both of them to separate. Interesting development there. Meanwhile, Starkiller Base prepares to fire on DQ, and the Resistance devises a plan to sneak onto the surface and lower the planetary shields so the fighters can attack the superweapon's weak spot. Using the Falcon, Han Han, Chewbacca, and Finn infiltrate the base, lower the shields, and reunite with Ren. However, the X-Wing fleet cannot penetrate the weapon, so Han and Chewbacca use explosives to create an opening. Ren arrives to stop them. Han confronts Ren, addressing him by his birth name, which is Ben. So we learn that the name they give to their son is Ben. Leia and Han, and implores him to abandon the dark side. Just as Ren seems to feel regret, he suddenly stabs his father in the chest with his cross-guard lightsaber. Han gently caresses his son's cheek, and then falls into the reactor shaft below, dead. So that's a big spoiler there. Hope the people who haven't seen this movie are not watching this right now to learn that Han does die. It's interesting in the EU, starting with the New Jedi Order series, it was Chewbacca who died at the beginning, and Han continues on. Well, this is the opposite. In this new trilogy, Han is the one who dies, and Chewbacca is the one who goes on. Interesting development there. It's going on. Enraged Chewbacca, Rey, and Finn start firing at Ren and the Stormtroopers, and giving the X-Wings time to damage the weapon, starting a chain reaction that ultimately destroys Star Killer Base. Ren chases Finn and Rey onto the surface of the planet as the planet is exploding, where Finn tries to fight him using Anakin's lightsaber. When Finn is wounded, Rey takes the lightsaber and overpowers Ren with the Force. She then boards the Falcon along with Finn and Chewbacca, managing to leave the planet as it explodes. The Resistance celebrates their victory while Leia, Chewbacca, and Rey mourn Han's death. R2-D2 suddenly awakens and reveals that he holds the map to Luke's location, with the only piece of the map missing being the one BB-8 was given to Poe. Together they complete the map and reveal the location of the planet in which Luke Skywalker is hiding. Finn is recovering in the hospital, and Rey kisses him on the head and thanking him for everything he is as he sleeps. With R2-D2 and Chewbacca in tow, Rey follows the map to the distant planet, where she comes across Luke and presents him with his father's lightsaber. Now that's very interesting how that develops. That they're looking for Luke, and the only time that we get to see Luke Skywalker is at the end. Matter of fact, he doesn't even have any speaking lines, but we see him for a quick cameo at the end, and I'm sure that in episodes 8 and 9 he'll play a bigger role. Anyway, going on to my review. There's one thing I wanted to point out first. First of all, let me back up a little bit because I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to list a few things what I like about The Force Awakens, and I'm going to list what I critique about The Force Awakens. But going on to listing what I like about The Force Awakens, the first thing I want to point out is that I was very pleased to see that the First Order is not a continuation of the Galactic Empire. I was very pleased that the saga was kept intact, with the Empire falling in the defeat of the Battle of Endor at the end of Episode VI, Return of the Jedi. If you remember from my review of the teaser trailer for Episode VII, The Force Awakens, that my greatest fear, now keep in mind that was the first trailer that they came out with. It was the first trailer that they had come out with. For the series. Now, they had come out with a couple other teaser trailers and the main trailer afterwards. But I reviewed the first trailer that came out. And my greatest fear at that time was, from what it looked with the Stormtroopers and with TIE Fighters, is they were going to have Endor be a victory, but not a total victory for the Rebel Alliance over the defeat of the Galactic Empire. And I felt that if they had the First Order, well, I didn't know it was going to be called the First Order at the time, but I thought if they could continue the Galactic Empire into the sequel trilogy, then it would undermine everything that George was trying to communicate in his 6-part saga, and it would essentially undermine everything. It would undermine the saga as is. I'm trying to find the right words to say. And change the entire story of what it was meant to be at the end of Episode VI, Return of the Jedi. But it wasn't. It was revealed even in the beginning crawl text of this movie that the Empire had fallen. That's, I guess, after Darth Vader and Palpatine had died, that the Empire had fallen, and the New Republic did come into being. But from the ashes, First Order rose from the ashes of the Galactic Empire. And I thought which was good. Now, J.J. Abrams described it as, imagine if, because the Empire is built off of the concepts of the Nazi Germany. And they were imagine after Hitler had died and some of the Nazis had fled to Argentina, South America. Imagine if they got together, Joseph Mengele, and said, let's do this again. Let's try to rebuild the Empire again. Well, that's what the First Order is that the First Order, where the Galactic Empire is defeated, you have the structure of the New Republic. And then when the First Order comes back on the scene trying to retake the galaxy, you have the New Republic supporting a resistance movement, military. What do they call it? Not a formalized military per se, but sort of like the same kind of ragtag crew that you get with the Rebel Alliance, or the Alliance to Restore the Republic. That was the official name of the Rebel Alliance. And it was a militia group. That's what the word I'm thinking of. It was like a militia group. But the New Republic was supporting them in order to prevent the First Order from gaining ground and taking the galaxy back under tyranny. So I was very glad to see that that's how that developed. I felt that the way the First Order, how the First Order was set up, and how the movie set it up, that it did not undermine the saga. It didn't undermine the theme and the story of all 6 movies of the Star Wars saga that was created by Lucas, and the story that Lucas was trying to tell. So I was very pleased with that. Next, it gives the feel. I feel it gives the feel of the Lucas era Star Wars film. When I was watching it, now keep in mind, if I didn't know that the acquisition took place, Lucas sold his company, Lucasfilm, to Disney. So now it's under Disney. So if I didn't know that the acquisition took place, or that this movie was made by Disney, or produced by Disney, I could be fooled in thinking that it was created by George. This was a movie created by George. I could be fooled that way, because it gave me that Lucas era feel of Star Wars. So I was very pleased with that. Number 3, I say it does not disappoint with excitement and plenty of suspense. I mean, it was right from the get-go. Very, and this is very typical of all the Star Wars movies, 1 through 6. Gave you that feel of excitement and suspense, and not knowing exactly what's going to happen to all the characters in the story. Gave you that fill-up, that suspense, not knowing what's going to happen. But I was very pleased with that. And number 4, I'd like to point out, it does have a potential for a well thought out and engaging trilogy. And not only for the trilogy, but it also gives hope for the spin-offs, for the spin-off anthology films. Because next year we're going to get, this year we got Episode VII, The Force Awakens. Next year we're going to get Rogue One, which is the anthology. It's not Episode VIII. It's a Star Wars movie, but it takes place some other time other than within the trilogy. So we're going to get an anthology movie next year. So it shows potential. This movie shows potential for a very solid trilogy. Episode 8 and 9. And now that depends on how the movie, the next two in the saga. It depends on how they do. But I'm giving high hopes from this one that the next two will be just as good, if not better, and hopefully not worse. But it does give that potential for two more parts of an engaging trilogy, and it also gives hope for the spin-offs. Like I said, the spin-off anthology films. Well, that ends my list of what I want to point out, or what I like. What I like about Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It's time now to go to my list of critique. The negatives, what I dislike. Well, hang in there. I do have some negatives. I'm not going to sit there and say, like I said, people critique the prequel trilogy or whatever. There's no film that is, there's no film that is perfect. I wouldn't say that about the prequel trilogy or the original trilogy or even this new trilogy, this new movie. And I'll give my critiques of what I dislike about Episode 7, Force Awakens. Okay, my main complaint with Episode 7, Force Awakens, is that it tends to be a recapitulation of the story of A New Hope. Episode 4, A New Hope. And when I say recapitulation is, if you understand, you read a story, whether it be a piece of history, which is real story, historical true story, or piece of fiction, you have what you call in some works a recapitulation, meaning basically a new story almost model everything that happened in a previous work. And I'm going to give about 6 examples. What should do? 6 examples of where I feel that this is a recapitulation with Episode 4, A New Hope. Okay, one, in Episode 4, A New Hope, R2-D2 and C-3PO escape the Empire by taking an escape pod from a blockade runner in the Tantive 4. And that was being held captive by a Star Destroyer and escaped down to the planet Tatooine with vital information in the R2 unit for the survival of the Rebel Alliance. And now, in Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Poe Dameron sends his droid away, BB-8, with a star chart to the location of Luke Skywalker in order to protect that information for the survival of the Resistance. Interesting similarity there. Number 2, in the Episode 4, A New Hope, the Empire sends stormtroopers down to Tatooine to search for the droids and kill anyone who has been in contact with them. In Episode 7, The Force Awakens, the First Order sends teams down to the planet of Jakku. Now, Jakku and Tatooine are different, but they're desert planets. And they're sent down to Jakku to search for the BB-8 droid, and they end up killing all the villagers in their search for that star chart, search for the droids so they can get their hands on the star chart. Very similar to what the stormtroopers were trying to hunt down C-3PO and R2-D2 in order to get the information back to the vulnerabilities of this Death Star. Well, the same thing, the First Order was sending teams of stormtroopers down, and just as the stormtroopers killed anyone in contact with those droids, the First Order killed an entire village, and they were in search for that BB-8 droid so they can get their hands on the information of where Luke was. Okay, moving on. In Episode 4, A New Hope, R2-D2 and C-3PO, by happenstance, come into the custody of Owen Emperor Lars and Luke Skywalker. So you remember they were picked up by the Jawas when the Jawas came to do some trading and selling to the Lars family that they ended up buying. Owen bought R2 and C-3PO, and ultimately, especially after their deaths, after they died, they became the property of Luke Skywalker. And in Episode 7, The Force Awakens, the BB-8 droid, by happenstance, comes into the custody of Rey, an inhabitant of the planet Jakku, and also she is a scavenger, scavenging the junkyard of all those ships and vehicles, and etc. But the BB-8 droid comes into her custody, and she takes it under her wing, much like what Luke does with R2 and C-3PO. Okay, moving on. In Episode 4, New Hope, under the command of Grand Moff Tarkin, the Star Destroyer destroys the planet Alderaan as an example of the power, to show the example of the power of the Empire, and the means that it will go to keep control over the galaxy. That's okay. In Episode 7, The Force Awakens, under the command of Hux, the Starkiller base destroys the planet Hosnian Prime and 4 other planets in the system. So that the Starkiller base was able to have the power. It was able to harness a sun, a star, and through the power, the energy, which is almost unlimited, from a star, able to destroy not just a planet, just like the Death Star did, but able to destroy entire star system. So they destroyed. You see the similarity? In order to show the power, the galactic power, Tarkin has Alderaan destroyed, the Death Star destroyed the planet Alderaan. Now the First Order with the Starkiller base, they want to show their power to the New Republic and others of the galaxy. So they end up destroying the Hosnian system and all the planets, all the 5 planets, including the main planet where the Senate resides, to demonstrate their power. So you see the similarity between the two. And one thing I wanted to make a point, out is I kind of felt like, even though it's like, wow, it's like a bigger, they built a bigger mousetrap, shall we say, because they even show you through holographic the size of the Death Star compared to the size of this Starkiller planet, the planet which they use, because it's actually a planet which they built that super weapon. It's almost like a planet, like they built a Death Star, but this Death Star, which is Starkiller base, can actually destroy not just one planet but an entire star system, and all of its planets that are rotating around that particular star. And I kind of thought that was kind of the Starkiller base. I get the from Episode 4, A New Hope. I get the Death Star. That makes a lot of sense, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's reasonable. It makes a lot of sense. It's plausible. That's the word I'm looking for. It seems plausible. But this Starkiller base, an entire planet that can move around and destroy entire solar systems like it does. Now it's probably very similar. Maybe they borrowed off the concept of the Sun Crusher from the Jedi Academy, Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy. But I kind of think it was kind of over the top for me, in my personal opinion. It does not destroy the movie, but it is kind of over the top. A little over the top for me, in my personal opinion. Anyway, let's move on. In Episode 4, A New Hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi sacrifices himself while dueling with Darth Vader in a lightsaber battle. Whereas in Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Han Solo confronts his son Ben. That's the real name that Han and Leia named their son, who is Kylo Ren. He becomes just like Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. Ben became Kylo Ren, and which he ends up killing his father, Han Solo, with a lightsaber. So you notice the difference that you have a main hero in both movies that sacrifice themselves and end up being killed by the similar style villain. Interesting. And for the last one, in Episode 4, New Hope, there was a final battle on Yavin 4, with the Rebel Alliance claiming victory over a major battle with the Empire when they destroyed the Death Star. So, you know, they had it where the Death Star found the hidden Rebel base, which was on the moon of Yavin 4. And they come there, the Galactic Empire comes there with the Death Star to destroy them, to destroy the, just as Tarkin said, to destroy the rebellion in one swift stroke. That was their attempt. But the Rebel Alliance sent their fleet and were able to find the weakness thanks to the protecting the information that R2 was hauling. And they were able to destroy the Death Star, which was a major victory for the Rebel Alliance. Well, in Episode VII, The Force Awakens, there was a final battle at the planet Starkiller base, in which the Resistance was able to claim a major victory over the First Order by destroying the superweapon, the planet, and ultimately the First Order's base. So essentially, if you can see the similarity there, they make at the end of Episode 7, The Force Awakens, they take this assault, you know, an air assault, and also Han, Chewie, and Rey, and Finn use explosive devices and sabotage the base from the inside on the planet. And they were able to make it, because they were going to try to destroy, not only they destroyed the New Republic Senate, but now they were going to destroy the resistance movement on Dukar. And because sort of like what Galactic Empire was trying to do with the Rebel Alliance, trying to destroy the Rebel Alliance with one swift stroke. They were trying to destroy the Resistance with one quick stroke of their Starkiller, from their Starkiller base. But they were overcome. The Resistance was able to overcome, destroy the Starkiller base, and destroy the planet. And now that was a major victory for the Resistance, just as destroying the Death Star was a major victory for the Rebel Alliance. But I'm sure that obviously the New First Order has not been defeated. They're going to be in a several-year war with the First Order, just like in the original trilogy. They were in a several-year war. The Rebel Alliance was in a several-year civil war with the Galactic Empire. So you can see hopefully you can see the similarities with that between the both of them. But there's one more point that I wanted to point out, and that's the big thing of the big controversy, because I've been asked, well, is this worth getting rid of? Was the movie worth getting rid of the entire EU? Well, obviously, because of my love for the EU, I'm going to say no. But that also brings into conflict, because I'm still sticking, even in spite of my fact for the love of this movie, I'm still sticking with the classic EU. I am not buying into Disney's, Lucasfilm and Disney's EU. But I'm going to still stick with the classic EU. How am I going to reconcile the both of them? I don't know. To be honest with you, I simply do not know. It's a work in progress. All I know is the two facts, that I did love this movie. This movie did impress me, in spite of the facts of its recapitulation from Episode 4, A New Hope, and some of the other things, the Starkiller base being a little over the top for me and stuff like that. So in spite of the criticism I have for this film did still impress me. But I'm also still in love with the classic expanded universe, Star Wars expanded universe, and I'm sticking with that. I am what they have now, Disney has now classified as Legends. Lucasfilm/Disney has classified as Legends. I call it Classic EU. That's what I'm sticking with. I'm still boycotting Lucasfilm Disney's new rebooted EU. So this film hasn't changed my opinion when it comes to the EU, but it's just changed my opinion when it comes to the potential greatness of this new sequel trilogy. So with that, I think hopefully I've said enough all with that. I know this has been one of my shortest blogs that I've done in quite a long while. It's been a rough couple months for me, and a rough week. So, but I do want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like my video, I ask you to please subscribe to my channel to get all the latest updates. Now, I will sit there and say, going back, that since this has been a bad month or so, a couple months for me, specifically this past month, I've decided early in the new year I'm going to take a hiatus. But I do want to come back and pick up where I left off and continue doing these videos for you. When I do come back, my next video that I plan to do will be a Doctor Who Anthology number 4 on the topic of Mondas, Telos, and the Siren. That would be an interesting one. But with that being said, like I said, just want to say that this is my last one for the year This is my last video for the year 2015, and coming new year 2016, I'm taking a short hiatus to regroup myself from being able to continue on to do. But I do want to continue on to do these videos, so I should be back. But I will be taking a short hiatus for a little while. But anyway, with that being said, I think I've said enough for this blog. I want to bid everyone a good day, and may the Force be with you.